Ever wondered what life is like as an international cabin crew? A flight attendant who gets paid to fly and travel around the world? Deep dive with me and my special guest, Julian Groneberg, as we explore everything that you need to know in regards to being an international cabin crew. Hey, I'm Steph, and I'm obsessed with all things travel, marketing, branding, and helping you stand out from the crowd. In just under 2 years, I went from being a home-based travel agent with zero clue how to make it work in the digital world to launching an international ranking travel podcast and creating an online course to help travel agents in lead generation. Here's one thing I know for sure. There has never in the history of the world been a better time to create the travel business you've always wanted. All you need is an actionable strategy and someone to show you the way. Picture this, we're going to spend the next hour of our time together at the Swim Up Pool Bar where over a cocktail, we deep dive into travel-related topics, mixed with a little classroom training. This show is dedicated to encouraging you to step outside of your comfort zone and into your travel business. I'll show you how I did it and how you can too. Hit subscribe now and let's get into it. If you're a travel agent wanting to onboard your perfect fit clients into your biz, download my free cheat sheet for lead generation systems you can use right now. Head to stephaniemyers.academy/cheat sheet. You're listening to Unplug in Paradise, the podcast. Hello. Welcome back to Unplug in Paradise, the podcast. My name is Stephanie Myers. I'm your travel agent and host. In today's episode, I have a very special guest. His name is Julian Groneberg, and he has been in the airline industry for quite a few years now, and his role was an international cabin crew. So if you've always wondered what it's like to live in the sky, work in the sky and travel all over the world, then dive in with me while I ask Julian some really funny questions. And also just to tick off everything on the list of what there is to know about cabin crew. I'm sure there's so much more that you want to know. So if you do want to know more, let me know and I can ask him and find out for you. That's not a problem. Also, if you'd like to take a moment and join me while I recognise the generations of local Aboriginal people of the Bundjalung Nation who have lived in and derived their physical and spiritual needs from the forests, rivers, lakes and streams of this beautiful valley over thousands of years as the traditional owners and custodians of these lands. Let's dive in with the episode with Julian. I have so many questions and I can't wait to share them with you. Let's go. So today on the episode, I have Julian Groneberg with me. So Julian has been in international cabin crew for quite a number of years now. So we have so many questions. I just want to get into it. So I'll start off by asking you, Julian, how you fell into your role as cabin crew, and was it something that you were passionate about before you got into the role?
Yeah, no, thanks, Steph. The funny thing was it wasn't something I was really passionate about. Like I got into becoming a flight attendant when I was 30, which is a lot older than a lot of the crew that I've worked with. A lot of them have done it for many, many years. But I was kind of at a career crossroads, you could say, or I'd been working for a marketing agency, then I'd done some freelance work, and that wasn't really paying my bills. So as a well-intentioned that I was to, hustle and all that kind of thing, I saw the job online. I thought, it's always something that I thought would be quite fun, but I've never really seriously pursued it. I thought, I think there's a lot of stereotypes about cabin crew, like you have to look a certain way or be a certain type of person, but none of those are actually true in my experience. Once I started to do the job, there definitely is the stereotype of the dolly I suppose you could say. And that exists, but there's also so many more different types of people. There's like a really diverse range of cultural backgrounds, ages as well.
Okay.
So it's actually a really big family and it's very diverse.
Yeah, okay. So when you say dolly, you mean like a Barbie?
Yes, the trolley dolly, the cliche, beautiful
Right.
girl
Oh, I see.
with the blonde hair, or even I guess there's the male version of that too. Um,
The Ken
the
doll.
Ken doll, yeah. And that like people like it's like there's a certain aspect of the job that you kind of want to look good because you're so visible to a
Yes.
sea of faces basically all turning their heads towards you as you're coming down the aisle. So it's on your mind a bit. I've never wanted to get caught up in that because I think that's just a little bit vain and silly. But
Yeah.
at the same time, you've got to keep yourself like you got to keep your hair neat, and you know the airlines have all these requirements around sort of personal grooming and uniform and all that too. So yeah, that's the aspect of it as well.
Yes. And you've got to, if you've got any visible tattoos and things like that, there's
Yes.
quite a lot surrounding that too. And sometimes when I've flown, you're not looking at the staff too much, but you do definitely notice if they've got like a band-aid on their wrist
Yep.
or
Yep.
a band-aid on the back of their neck. If there's something visible, and you only notice because maybe there's like hair caught in it or something. And
Yep.
it's kind of like, girl, you got a tattoo,
I
you're
can
trying to
see
hide it.
it.
Like,
Yeah.
I can
No.
see it.
The tattoo thing is a bit of a problem if you're wanting to get into the job because I think that's a bit unfair. But I know that if there's visible tattoos, there's a pretty good chance you won't get hired because they've got so many applicants, you know. So um, yeah, look, they still have an image thing, and it'll be interesting to see in the future where that all goes. And you know, I don't think tattoos are pretty mainstream now. I mean, I don't have any, and I'm sort of glad I
Mm.
never did. There was a time when I was pretty tempted, but if I haven't got one now, I'm never going to get one, basically. And yeah, look, there's that. That's one of the things you have to consider, I suppose. But there's also many other things that they're looking for as well. And so, you know, we can talk about that too, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of like the perfect job when you don't have any commitments and you don't have kids and you can pretty much have like a 7 day a week, 24 hour a day free schedule,
Hmm.
would you say?
It's no, it's an adventure. Like it offers so much. It's definitely not your average job. It's a lifestyle kind of job. And so it's a bit all encompassing, really, because if you're away on a trip, you're really sort of like you're at work, but you're not. So you kind of like have dinner with the people that you just worked with, and it's very very unique in that way, and makes it very fun, and it makes you build bonds with your fellow crew really quickly because of that as well.
Yeah, okay. So you'd have to be pretty passionate about it to get into a job like that because I mean, if you weren't sure, you probably wouldn't make it through the
I
training.
think so. Yeah, I think it's the reality of it is a lot different to what people think, and so you know, there's a lot of apprehension people might have of like, I'd always be away. And I had that too, actually, because I started domestically for about a year and a half before I went to international. I've been flying now for 4 years. So, and I thought, oh, have I made the wrong decision to go international? You know, like I'm going to be away so much. But you actually, in my experience going up to Asia, which was basically the routes that I did, it was only, you know, I'd leave one morning, um, you know, on at 9 o'clock or something, we'd depart, and then I'd be back less than 48 hours later. You know, 6 a.m. in the morning, we get back in. So and then you have a few days off because you get quite a few days off. So that's definitely one of the perks of the job. Um,
I like it.
yes, so that's always nice. So as I said, it's not your average 9 to 5 because you're sort of working a lot less. Like when you're working antisocial hours often. But say you have a whole, you know, 24 hours or more, which is considered a work day, but you're actually not working wherever you are. So that could be in Singapore or wherever, really, like Tokyo. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Okay. So With flying long haul, would you sleep on the aircraft? You know, like and how did you manage to unplug while you're on the job? Because I know, there's moments in between service where you guys actually get a bit of a chance to catch your breath.
Yes, yeah, bit of real disappear.
So yeah, fill us in. I'm so interested to know what you guys do up
Yeah,
there.
it's yeah, so on your 9 hour sort of flight, there's basically two services and you do get a couple of hours off. If it's a longer flight, like some of the ones I did to the US, you get even longer off. So sometimes up to 4 hours on a 13-hour flight, which is pretty good because they
Mm.
have bunks in those planes where you can actually lay down and it's a little secret compartment, which
Oh,
is yeah, it seems to interest everyone actually, that aspect, because
yes.
it's the whole bit of a plane which, unless you sort of knew where the door was, which actually it's very, very easy to find out just on YouTube, or there's been a lot of articles written about it. But yeah, that you lie down and you do have a couple of hours nap. But on the aircraft that I worked, it was just a curtained off seated area, just like normal passenger seats. But that was, I guess you could say, a bit povo compared to actually having a bed.
Okay, I was gonna ask. It's not a 180-degree flatbed like
No, I
business class, is
wish.
it?
We were kind.
With the service and
Yeah,
everything.
we were like, yeah, just in our, basically just in the main cabin, so you could just see it. Like anyone could sort of know that was something there. But it was
Mm.
good. Like on the night flights, especially, you get a couple of hours. Like you'd be pretty tired all the time, so you
Mm.
would just have a doze for a couple of hours. And like I said, I always used to say, I don't know any other job where you're actually getting paid to like sleep, but literally you do at times get paid to sleep. But to be honest, you need it as well. So I can't
Mm.
see them not having that. Just with the time zones and the hours, you really do, long haul need some kind of crew rest.
That's right. And while you're having a little bit of R&R, is there a chance for you to get in touch with friends and family at home? Like, do you have access to like Wi-Fi
So
or?
no, actually, so that's what a lot of people would probably really like, because especially crew with families back home, there's that whole thing of you're in the air all day, so you're basically unreachable, for that 10 hour or 12 hour period. So it would be
Mm.
nice. I mean, I know that the Wi-Fi is coming on a lot of carriers, or already exists on some of the
Mm.
big ones.
Yeah.
It's a bit patchy though, depending where you're flying, based on the satellite. So
Mm.
certain airlines are just trying to. It's expensive too, I think. You have to pay for it. But yeah, what I normally
Mm.
do to unplug is they actually, with the in-flight entertainment, have these mindfulness kind of little sessions you can do. So any of the passengers can do them as well. So
Ah.
I do some of those just to sort of decompress from like the hecticness of the service, and running drinks up and down the aisles, and so that gives you, that 15-20 minute sort of, yeah, I don't know, just respite really.
Yes. Yeah, and you definitely need it because, all of my experience flying long haul or even domestically, like all the cabin crew are so seamless.
Yes, mostly.
And to make it look seamless, there is so much prep and so much that you guys have to do behind the scenes that we don't see because we're there for the customer
Yeah.
experience of almost
Yeah.
people. It's kind of like, they're a bit late with my
Yeah,
drink.
everyone's kind of waiting
I
for the
might I
first
might
drink.
buzz I might buzz
Yeah,
again.
definitely.
It's like, no, they're onto it.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a process, and like, without wanting to be too critical of the airlines, like some of them, they've reduced staff as well. So if you've got a full cabin, it's going to be interesting in the future. But if you've got like a full flight with no spare seats, you literally, like, to get through everyone, and you might only have six or so crew in economy, and that's for like 269 people. Um, so you're gonna,
mm,
like, it's pretty full on if it's a full service airline carrier doing, a meal service, and then, if you start from the front, work your way to the back, but you're still serving the back people by the time the first row people want their second drink. So I mean, most people are pretty good, but there are, I reckon too, like, a bit of a diva mentality with certain passengers, more so long haul than domestic, because I guess the people that travel long haul often have a bit more money, or they live in yeah, they're used to maybe being waited on a fair bit more, based on their lifestyle, where they live overseas, or their culture, or something like that. But yeah,
Or because that they probably because they have to be in the plane
that
longer
as well.
as
Yes,
well.
yep,
I want the full service and I want it from
yep,
start to finish.
yep. They
Thank
know
you.
it's included. So look, we're happy to give. It's not like we have to like spend, like, if it's there to give, I love to just give it all out. It's just getting to everyone basically, and that's the challenge. But yeah, look, it's good. Like, being busy at work is always good, right? Like, day goes quick. You kind of
Yeah,
just get into it. Yeah.
definitely. I did wonder as well, do you eat the same food as what is dished out for everybody?
So yes and no. Like,
Hmm.
we're like little
Sorry, it's like a little
vultures.
bit of a
No,
trade
yeah. So
secret.
we get our own crew meals loaded, which are in a ceramic dish. They're a bit like on a proper tray, and like a
A
proper
proper
tray. Yeah, like
tray.
with actual cutlery,
Jeez.
like how it used to probably be.
With
Yeah,
actual
with like
cutlery. Oh, you're
yeah,
killing
so
me.
but yeah, God, you get sick of we still find something to whinge about though. Like, so we'll just pick around whatever we think looks nice. Sometimes the passenger meals are actually nicer than what we have, and sometimes there's leftover food from business class, and that's a whole other story with who gets that, who gets what there, and look, some crew bring their own food because they're very health conscious or diet conscious as well. So that's fair enough. Yeah, yeah, we kind of just, look around and what looks good. And there's often heaps of food left over, or not everyone eats it. So you have a few choices. If you don't like one, you chuck it and you try the next one. So yeah, yeah.
Oh, that would be cool, just having it all at your fingertips. But I suppose, like from the customer experience, it's like, oh, this is like it just seems very like
Yes.
limited. Like you're not getting big meals or
No.
anything like that, and you probably wouldn't want to when you're in the sky for that long. So like the snacks and everything like that come around pretty regularly, like they're always
Yes,
appreciated.
yeah. The danger with being a flighty is just snacking on too much crap. Basically, like, you've got, yeah, you want, I don't know, more of the sort of. It's just dangerous when you're, especially on the night flights, when you're bored and wanting a boost of energy. You kind of have those ice creams or biscuits or whatever, and you're just like, oh, should I? What I started doing was, when I felt like something, because those night flights when everyone's kind of asleep and you're not on your break and you're just kind of patrolling the aisles and responding to call bells or whatever it is, you're kind of, it gets pretty boring at times, depending who you're working with too. Some people
Mm.
are just not, everyone's different. Um, so some people you're just like, not vibing. So I'll make myself, instead of eating, I'll make myself just a cup of green tea or peppermint tea after the other, and that'll sort of just, just pass the time a bit, suppress the
Suppress
appetite.
the
Yeah, feel like you're
cravings.
having something without having something, kind of thing. Yeah,
It would be hard because it's kind of like being at home, but you can't leave home.
exactly.
But you're surrounded by a lot of other people that you need to look after before yourself. And I can relate to that, actually, being a mum
I
working
bet.
from
Yeah,
home.
pulled in a few different
You know,
directions.
yeah, kids, he's looked after. He's got like a 5-star meal, and I'm in the cupboard eating a packet of
Yes, in a
chips that I
spare moment
found.
kind of thing. Like, exactly. You're
Yeah.
meeting his needs, and you're like, oh, I finally got a bit of a minute to, like, shove something down my face or throat or whatever the word is.
Uh,
And then your kid or the passenger comes into the galley and, like, excuse me, and you're like, just trying to sneakily eat.
oh,
Sorry.
sorry.
That's what the curtain's there for. So we do use the curtain.
Oh, cool. So, in regards to like health and well-being, how do you keep like like skincare and stuff like that? And how do you like do you function well with the
the dry.
like the compression and the dry air, and
Yeah. No,
also, like, have you ever had dramas with your ears, like constantly like taking off, like ascending and descending and
yeah.
things like that? Have you always had any
Not
dramas
really with the
there?
ears. But I know many
Yeah.
people that have, and um, I think you need to. It sounds a bit gross, but with the ears, because you are going up and
Mm,
down a lot, you get a bit of wax build up. So you need to kind of get those flushed out. Some flighties have
mm.
more issues with that than others. It sort of depends on your ear canals, but
Yeah. I've got sensitive ears,
yeah,
so I've always not struggled, but I've sometimes you can't pop your ears, or one pops and the other one's giving you pain. So I'm just wondering, because you guys do it so
yeah.
often, wondering whether there's
I don't
a
really
trick or
feel
something.
like we, yeah, the regular. It just depends on your ears, but I don't think the
Mm,
regularity of it. It is dangerous to fly though if you've got a blocked sort of or really congested sinuses. So I'd suggest anyone,
mm,
passenger or crew, don't fly if they can, if they've got sort of like really congested sinuses, because you can sort of have ear trauma on descent, and so that can you can blow an eardrum, but that's pretty extreme and pretty unlikely in my experience and what I've heard. Yeah, other health though, you're so right. Like it's heaps of health considerations. It's considered one of the most unhealthy jobs actually in the world, being a flight attendant, which is a bit
right.
of a reality check. It's definitely not glamorous as in a lot of ways. Just the germs and oh god, obviously COVID-19 2020. That's
Mm,
hello,
hello.
yeah. Well, was waiting for that shoe to drop somewhere on the podcast, but it's just so relevant right now to our
Yeah.
job.
It's
Yeah,
like how long are you here for?
yeah,
When are you leaving?
exactly. It's just all encompassing, but so that's going to make
Mm,
be a consideration for some people, I guess, wanting to do the job in the future. The you're obviously because you're in contact with so many different people from so many different countries and in close contact. You've got to stay healthy to try and ward off any potential because there's germs, on a plane. There's as much as they can try and clean them, and they could be cleaned better, and they are being cleaned better now. You're still going to get um, way more exposure to things like that, I would say, and yeah, and also because of different time zones, and it's a physical job actually. So it's good to try and keep yourself in a good baseline level of fitness, so you can, yeah, so you can meet the demands of the actual job because you're on your feet all day, and well, not all day, but most of the day, and yeah, um,
mm.
that's definitely a big consideration too.
That's right. And like your mental health as well is such a
True,
big thing to look after too, because I suppose, like you were saying before, Julian, about not being able to have access to home and things like
true,
that.
yeah.
So it's kind of like, you know how you go to a normal
Mm-hmm.
job and they say, you leave home at home, and then when you leave work at work type thing. It's kind of like when you're going to, like, being a flight attendant, you got to leave life at home and just dedicate all to the job.
That's so true, and
Mm.
it really is. Yeah, you kind of like life at home is a bit on pause if you're on a. There was a few 7-day, 8-day trips I used to do, and while they were so fun, you definitely, in my experience, didn't want to do them all the time because I really value having a home life as well.
That's right. And you'd be missing your family and your
Exactly, and
friends and your partners,
it's a
and
little bit unstable.
it'd be a
No, it is. It's a bit
strain.
unstable to do that
Mm.
kind of flying all the time. I think some people love it because they basically have a different life over in these places that they go to every fortnight or whatever. So that becomes their life. But then I feel like that might come at a cost to your stable home life, which I really value. So if you can it's if you have to be conscious of that aspect and try and balance it because yeah, I think mental health is actually a really underreported issue with, I guess, any kind of people that travel for work. So business travelers, that are always on the road, or yeah, it can be,
Like us
well,
travel
exactly,
agents as
yeah.
well.
You're doing your famils, and
Mm.
um, yeah, it's just it's
We're always away from family and we're experiencing new and exciting things, but we can't like we're sharing it with other travel agents, but there's not the opportunity to share it with your loved ones because they're
Yeah,
not
and
there.
that's hard sometimes.
It's tricky.
It's also
Mm,
nice that you've got your agent family with you. So I guess that really builds the bonds too. Like it's your little network. But yeah,
mm,
it is like separate, if that makes sense. Yeah. I do think sometimes it can
mm.
be quite a lonely job too. So you've got to stay connected and grounded in other ways. So yeah, like taking taking time for yourself or bringing stuff on trips, trying to kind of do something. If you, it's more on those trips where you're away for longer, I'd say. Not so much the ones where you're only, really have 24 hours in the different destination, but the ones where you sort of tacked onto longer trips, or some of them, you'll go up from Australia up to Asia, then back to Australia, stay in Australia for in a different city, not your home city, and then back up to Asia as all part
Mm.
of the one trip, if that makes sense. And yeah, I think
Yes.
just the amount of time in the sky and the different time zones that can put you out of whack. You're awake when everyone else at home is asleep. So that can be challenging as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I've often thought that. I for working with the
Yes.
flying kangaroo
The boing
with the
boing
red
boing.
tail. Was there any like particular employee perks of the job that they would offer you, or to make the deal a little bit sweeter for joining
So
them?
there are some good perks in general, I would say. It does depend on the airline. The best perk, I'd say,
Mm.
for anyone is access to staff travel. Like that basically means that you can fly for just the taxes, really.
Mm.
So
Oh,
it's
you
pretty
lucky
fab.
little thing. We don't
I
have
know
that
they
as
should
travel
they should
agents.
introduce that. Yeah.
Oh,
But
they should.
it's not a perfect system. You have to obviously usually there's some spare seats though, but you're not confirmed. You're on standby. But
Mm.
if you're
Yes.
suss it, like you'd actually be the best one to be able to suss it because you know all the different flights quite well and um and when they leave
Yeah. And the
and
availability, how
availability.
many
Yeah, you've
seats
got
are
access
left,
to
and
good availability. Whereas
mm.
we can do it's not just the airline I work for, but it's also others in their alliance, and also they have
Mm.
arrangements with other airlines too. So you get different priorities. Sometimes they'll put you on before other staff from other airlines. There's a whole. It's quite complicated actually, but if you've got a backup plan, so if I don't get onto this one, I'll try this airline that leaves on the same date, or I'll go through this city. You just kind of have a few options. But if it's only just you and one other person, that's only two people. Usually there's two seats. But if you've got a family
Yeah.
of five or four on school holidays, then you have to kind of, yeah, then you might just want to just book with a budget carrier and just know that you're confirmed.
Mm.
But that's
Mm.
definitely one of the
That's
best
true.
perks, and yeah, that's got to be the top one. And there's other ones as well, though, for sure.
Do you get like hotel discounts and things
You
like that?
get yeah. So in the hotels that you stay in, the hotels usually um, will give the airline crew 50% off, sometimes as much as 50% off the in-room dining, and or like a couple of vouchers to drink at the bar, which is always very welcomed after a long flight. So yeah, and also one of the cool things is as far as I know, not all long haul crew get this, but a lot do. Is local currency, so cash allowances um, for your dinner, breakfast, and lunch, or however long you're in that place. You get local currency to spend on all your expenses, basically, while you're there. But it's quite generous, so it
Oh,
definitely
that
helps. Yeah,
helps. That's
so
helpful.
that really tops up our wages. Like even though it's supposed to be fully expended, it's tax free. So it's really
Yeah.
quite fab because like if you're getting into the industry now, the pays aren't what the salaries aren't definitely what they used to be, but that is pretty good pretty generous, to be honest. So that definitely tops it up.
That's right. And being able to have like the meals and things like that a part of
Yes.
it too
Yeah, just
does,
not having to
you
spend
know,
your own money, and
and
like
that's
just from the travel perspective, like
that's
to
right.
just to try different restaurants in the city, and yeah, and know that you don't have to penny pinch really, because that's kind of what that money's there for. So yeah, it's pretty good.
That's right. And I'm looking through my notes, and that's number one reason why you
Food,
love to travel,
yes,
isn't it?
yes. Oh my God, like that is the joy. It connects us all together around the world, even if we don't speak a single word of wherever we are. Food is just universal. So, oh, don't get me started.
Especially when it's like it feels so close but yet so far away that we could get back to all these places, because at time of recording we're slack bang in the middle of COVID-19 restrictions. Our country has been on lockdown, like, and restricted from international travel and a lot of domestic travel as well. So we're right in
In the
it, aren't
thick
we,
of it,
Julian?
and
We're right in it.
it's just such a doozy, because travel has just been so much part of my life and so many people's lives. It's quite bizarre to think, um, yeah, just the fact of like now hopping on a plane is just so difficult, um, and yeah, like it's obviously going to make it that much more sweeter when we can do it again. But I guess this is something you're going to be talking about in other episodes on your podcast too, Steph, like just how travel's going to change, because it will. And you know, in the medium to short term, at least, maybe one day it'll be cheap again, but I think it's going to get more expensive, and it's not going to be in the masses, I think, that we saw. So that's going to be interesting.
That's right. Well, I think I'm definitely all in on assisting travel in its new direction, and that is basically just making
Yeah.
mindful decisions, making decisions that are solely your own, traveling in a way, and booking, and having a travel agent that's passionate, booking products on your behalf that align with your why you're traveling, what's your purpose behind your travel, what kind of travel are you. So this is why I have a whole podcast based on travel personalities. So speaking of which, how, when you have time off, and you probably do overseas, how do you travel, Julian? Like, what's your sort of go to? Like, do you have a particular style that you indulge in? And I mean indulge because that word means different, differently
Yeah.
to other
Yeah.
people. Because my sense of indulging is putting on some slippers and a robe and
No,
just
look, there's so
maxing
many.
out,
Yeah.
chilling
And
out.
that there's no right or wrong way, isn't it? But it is so personal. And I like the idea
No,
of you doing the intentional
yeah,
travel and trying to assist people to book a trip and to create an itinerary that really connects with their values and their style, because travel is such a personal thing. And I think um, for me personally, I really like just the not having too many plans. Obviously, I like a little bit of comfort and a base level line of luxury. So if you had have asked me 10 years ago, I would have been fine with roughing it. But if I guess I err towards a cosmopolitan style travel. So I mean, as I love nature, I love doing adventurous things, but I'm more of a foodie, a city culture arts kind of guy. So in terms of like my
mm,
style, though, um, I try not to have a massive list of checklists. So one of the best things, I think I did this said this in your questionnaire, is like I just like to hit the ground
yeah,
and just start on foot. And I don't even care if I get lost if it's in a pretty safe city. Don't go wandering around at night in random neighborhoods, sure, but that's the fun of just kind of seeing, oh, this street looks kind of cool. Like, what's down here? Or like not even knowing where you're going, and then just immersing yourself and getting your bearings of a city that way. Yeah, not being afraid to jump on
mm,
um, the subways or trains. Who cares if you get lost? Just get a taxi. Just get your like I'd always say, people should have roaming or some sort of. You get it pretty cheaply now, $5 a day or whatever with Vodafone.
Mm.
You know, like just sorry, Vodafone. I mean, free plug. um, yeah. So yeah, honestly, I just think if you get lost, use your maps on your phone or connect to a Wi-Fi hotspot to get your bearings again. But that's my style personally.
That's right. I think the idea of that is so intriguing to a lot of people, but there are still, and in my profession, there's still a lot of people that like to have their
Yes, definitely.
handheld the whole way. And like I get it from both perspectives. Like I've done trips where I've completely just winged it and loved it, and I was in the middle of the hills in the central
Well,
Honshu
yeah.
in Japan, out in the bush, waiting for a bus. There was no cars even on the road, waiting for this bus that we didn't know what was coming. There was a sign up there with a little bear. It was a cartoon bear though, so you didn't know how serious it was. And because it's in Japanese, I was thinking, does that mean there's bears in the area, or is it just like a cute little sign with
Yeah,
this
because they
cute little
love all the
cuddly
cute
cartoon
kawaii
bear?
sort of like cartoony things. You're like, what does
Yes,
this mean? Yeah.
yes. It's like, okay, so it doesn't look mean, but I'm wondering, there's probably bears out here, so I need to kind of work on my escape
Yeah.
route if one comes near us. Let's find some sticks and like clack clack them away.
It is a bit daunting though, right? Sometimes.
But
Yeah.
it's an
It is
adventure.
the
It's so
adventure. And it also
fun.
depends on so many factors too. Like it depends who you're with. Like I'm okay getting lost if it's just me. Like, but if I'm with someone else that's getting fractious or irritable about it, then it kind of kills it a bit because they're like, oh, you know. So if I get lost, it's on me kind of thing. Whereas if I get someone else lost, then it's like, oh, then I feel a bit bad. And yeah, so there's no right or wrong, I suppose. And I guess one thing is to be prepared that you will sometimes not find somewhere easily to eat. Like you'd be hungry and you'll start getting hangry and you'd be like, oh, I just want something like this. And it's just the only thing you can't seem to find. You can find everything else. But like I've been in places I just want a coffee and I'm so cranky and like I literally cannot
Mm.
find a coffee, but I'm in like the middle of a major city. I'm like, how can that just not be like, I'll take anything like Macca's coffee. Couldn't even find like, do you know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah. I know. And sometimes when you're overseas and you kind of, yeah, you've got the hankering for something and you can't even
yes.
put your finger on it even. And it doesn't matter where you are. It's kind of like, oh, I'll try that. Yeah, that
And
didn't
exactly.
do
And
it for
that's
me.
with the
Let's try
food side of
somewhere
things.
else.
Like, you've got to expect that some things are going to be misses, but some things are going to be hits. And like, I guess I'm adventurous with food anyway, whereas other people aren't as much. So, yeah, like you for every amazing bit of food, you just have ones that you're like, oh, that was a bit weird. But sometimes just trying something, what
What did
was
I
that
just
kind of thing? But
eat?
sometimes you'll have something so delicious, and if you had have just had the standard kind of Western meal, you'd be, just you could have that anywhere. So
That's right. And do you tend to go to like the more authentic, traditional style places over
I
like a
do try to, yeah.
westernized? Yeah.
And yeah, it's
Yeah.
hard sort of knowing what's what. I think that is the challenge. But again, like if you want the safe bet, and there's definitely the time and place when you want something that you know what it is, and that's fine too. But I do try, especially if I'm in a culture like Japan with this amazing food,
Mm.
to really just try different stuff, even if that's like some kind of random seafood. Like, so be it.
Cool.
See
It's on
what
my
it
plate.
is.
I'm going
Yeah.
to eat it. I love that. It's all part of experimenting and building those memories and creating that lifelong passion and love for travel. And I love food as well. So I literally just follow my stomach around everywhere I go when I'm overseas, and in
Yeah.
Japan especially. My gosh, I've had some
Oh,
really
yeah.
amazing food there. In Singapore as well. They're just some of their restaurants. I'm
They
thinking,
do
come
it
to
so well.
Australia, bring your
Yeah.
franchise here. like I will go and see you a few times a week if you make one
Oh,
around
I
the corner
know.
from my
There's so
house.
much stuff.
You'll be
Honestly, there's
guaranteed
so much stuff.
business.
I feel like I took it for granted as a flighty, but there's so much stuff that I had access to on, a weekly or fortnightly or monthly basis in this certain culture. Like, for example, Muji, I don't know if you know the Japanese, kind of like a department store, but it's a little bit like a IKEA, but they have really cool homewares. They even sell clothes. And, I just sort of thought, I can pick that up next time. Or, there's so many things. Muji is in Sydney, I'm pretty sure, and Melbourne. But, yeah, heaps
Yeah.
of stuff like that you just kind of, yeah, as a flight attendant, you get to, yeah, like you're very spoiled because you do have just these opportunities because you're in different places to bring back little treasures and try different things all the time.
I love that. Do you have a message for people listening who may be keen on getting into cabin crew in the future when things start getting up off the ground? So I do imagine they'll be re-advertising the
Definitely.
jobs, in the next
Yes.
6 months or so. So people would be able to have the opportunity to start doing their training at least. Is there any tips or
To,
things
to,
that
to
people
get the
need to
job
know?
or just
Yeah, just beforehand, like if
yeah,
they're
not
thinking
I
about
guess
it.
the main thing is to really just try and position yourself as someone who delivers premium customer service. So if you can kind of answer the questions in the interview from that framework. You have a group assessment days. There's a whole. You could almost do a whole podcast on that as well. But yeah, I guess the
Mm.
main thing is
Mm.
there's some advantages if you can speak another language that's really highly sought after, but it's not necessary either. Yeah,
Mm.
the main tips would just be not to give up. I think it is um, a really popular job, and I consider myself a bit of a fluke that I got into it, Steph. Like it was literally, I think
Mm.
I started domestic and I was casual. So you have to just sort of just to get in, I guess, take a regional airline if that's what you might not be doing overnights at first, but because you've been a cabin crew, you'll definitely get into when you'll have your ear to the ground for the next position, and you're already probably working for the airline to get international or something like that down the track. So yeah, don't give up, keep applying. It's a little bit of luck of the draw too, so it's a little bit right time, right place as well. But if you can, yeah, really talk up your premium customer service and give examples of times you've done certain things to help customers. That's what I would recommend.
Oh, that's great. I love that. And
I
you
do,
have a blog
yeah.
too,
It's
don't you, Julian?
yeah, I did the cabin crew blog. It's cabincrewchitchat.com. So if you want to, I guess, learn more about what flight attendants talk about, that's kind of the blog for it. Yeah, so it's been a lot of fun, just kind of everything. Like there's one about, where flight attendants prefer to work in business class or economy, or just, lots of random little dialogue between crews. So it's all, yeah, it's all in that vein.
That's right. You've got a little bit of information there about the training and the work
Yes,
conditions and the
definitely. So
lifestyle
yeah,
as
it's
well.
a pretty realistic kind of view of what it's like, and it's not necessarily all the good things either. It's yeah, it's no holds barred, I guess you could say.
Well, yes, you've definitely got to check that out. I've read a couple of your stories and we've spoken about it before. I won't bring it up now because it's a little bit
I
morbid.
think I know which blog you're referring to, but yeah,
You know. So you have to go over and have a look
yeah.
and try
Thanks,
and find
Steph.
the one that
Yeah,
I'm
no,
talking
it's been a
about.
lot of fun. It's all a bit on hiatus at the moment, but every now and then I really just get that yearning for crew life, and I get inspired to sit down and tap away at the keyboard. And yeah, there's just so many aspects to it, so lots of material.
Love it. You're on Facebook as well too,
That's right.
Julian,
Yeah,
the
there's a
cabin crew
Facebook
chit
page if
chat.
people want to search for it that way.
Cool, nice. Lovely.
Oh
Well,
no,
I'll have to
fab.
go over
Yeah,
and
let's
like your
do a
page then.
reciprocal liking of each other's pages. That sounds good.
Yeah. Sounds fantastic. I'm so appreciative that you're able to come on the show today and have a chat about your life as
Yeah, no, it's been
a
great. Thanks,
flighty.
Steph. I
So
love a
so
chance to chat, and yeah, no, it's
interesting.
been fab speaking to you, and yeah, all the best with your podcast, and looking forward to listening to future episodes as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll have to get you back on the show again soon. And I'm so grateful to Kate, which is a
Yeah,
friend of
she
both
hooked
of
us up.
ours, professionally. Yeah, she did. And just little did we know that we actually
It
grew up with the
spins me
same
out.
group
Yeah,
of people
yeah,
as well,
beautiful
in the
part of
same
the world.
town.
So
Yeah, that's incredible. Alrighty, well, I'll let you go. Thank you so much once
keep it
again.
real.
And
Thanks,
yeah,
Steph. Bye.
keep it real.
See ya. Bye.
Thanks, Jules. Bye. That was fantastic. Loved the insight, Julian. Thank you again for joining me on the podcast. Looking forward to having you back soon and listening to more travel stories. If you've loved today's episode, head over to travelbystephanie.com.au/22 and you can download all the gossip, including the links to Cabin Crew Chit Chat, which is Julian's blog, and also you can catch it on Facebook as well. Also, if you're enjoying the podcast, I would love it if you left me a 5-star rating and review in Apple Podcasts. That would make my day. Also, if you haven't yet subscribed, make sure you do, or follow if you're a Spotify lover like me. And we can get together soon and talk all things travel. Hope you all taking care of yourselves, and we'll chat soon. Thanks again. Bye.
And sometimes my mommy just got it. He's a travel agent all day. He works so hard. He's a travel agent and loves me.